Hello and welcome to this Network 18 initiative, Dabao Desh Banao. This has been a voter awareness campaign that Network 18 has been running through the course of this election. We're almost over the hump. It's past the midway mark as far as the Indian election is concerned for Lok Sabha 2019. And indications do suggest that the efforts done by organizations like ours and others have ensured that the voter turnout has not reduced in comparison to 2014. In fact, it's held and has seen a slight improvement. We'll break up the data for you in just a second. But let me welcome all of my colleagues here from Network 18 who've joined me in on this conversation. And Bhupin, let me start by asking you. You know, I was taking a look at how the cities have voted. Mumbai has consistently been an underperformer. So this time around, it's been a jump. In fact, best performance in the last 30 years. We've seen Mumbai go to about 55% almost. Hyderabad 44.75%. Chennai 57%. Bangalore 52%. Ahmedabad 62%. Nagpur 54%. Noida 57% or almost 58%. What does this tell you about why the cities are not coming out and voting the way that the rural constituencies are? You know, the natural or the obvious take is that there is an apathy as far as the urban voter is concerned. They're not really that engaged with the electoral process. But the question also is, how much are politicians reaching out to that constituency? How many rallies, for instance, did mainstream politicians have in a city like Mumbai? The Prime Minister did one rally in Mumbai, from what I remember, pretty much towards the end of the election. I don't think Rahul Gandhi did a rally in the city of Mumbai at all. So is this constituency not being addressed because the voter turnout has traditionally and legacy-wise been lower? Or do they feel that they don't matter, so why bother?
You know, it's a bit of both. For the last 2 decades that I've been in this business, before every election, each politician tells you that you guys are city people. You don't know what's happening in India because you know what? The real India is outside. The real India is in the rural areas. Now, if the real India is in rural areas and if the political class is reaching out to rural areas, and there is a sense, whether you look at budget or most government policies, there's always an attempt which is being made somehow to address whatever concerns exist in the rural areas. There is a feeling, certainly in this age group of 25 to 35, that irrespective of who comes to power, my job, my income, my money is not going to be addressed by the government. It will be addressed by some corporate player, it will be addressed by some bank. Somewhere there is a feeling that if I am in a good, comfortable zone as far as my own personal life is concerned, I can live without.
But it's not about comfort, it's about dependence, right? The issue is not about comfort. The issue then
I don't depend on the political
I don't
class.
Depend on the political class as much as a rural voter will perhaps depend on the rural.
There's also a factor of trust, Shireen. I think rural areas, because they depend a lot on institutions of governance.
Basic services.
For the basic services. So they go to the government, their touch points with government are, I think, on a daily basis. Whereas in cities, we want the government out of our lives. So it's a completely different mindset. We don't want the government in our life. We hardly feel the government in our life. Whereas in a rural setting, you cannot escape the government and its arms, right? So I think the trust. They might be very upset, but at the time of the vote, I think they have the trust that this will change something.
Look at a place like Delhi itself. I mean, so divided. Say a New Delhi constituency always registers a much lower voters percentage than the rest of Delhi. So in Janakpur and all, the people want to go out and vote because I need my government. I want to decide who my government is.
The process of choosing the date on which the election is to be held, by that logic, should all elections be held only on Saturdays? Or should they be held only on Sundays? Or should they be held bang in the middle of the week? Should they be held on a Wednesday? Are we saying that if an election was to be held on a Wednesday, will that make a difference? Will it bring out more people? I don't think it's necessarily related to which day of the week that election will be held. But I do believe that there is a problem. When it comes to big cities, there is a problem about just how much the government of the day is going to impact me. If I'm a stock market broker, you know, all stock market punters keep calling you what's happening, what's not. If the limited interest of the government is the government going to contribute in me getting more money? Well, maybe then 30 to 40% people come out and vote. And that's what you see. If the government was to be in a position in which maybe the impact on my life was far higher, then maybe you would have seen.
You know, one of the other interesting things that we've seen as far as this particular election is concerned, the number of first-time voters. I was just looking at the data. 1 in 60 registered voters in the age group of 18 to 19. There are 1.5 crore first-time eligible voters that we've seen. I was talking to somebody who runs a youth organization called Yuva, and his point was that, while we're making a lot about this first-time voter, whether it's the Prime Minister or other political leaders, no one's actually engaging with them. No one's actually talking to them. Look at the manifestos.
I don't think we are engaging them through the mediums. They
See, look
now,
at...
But
I
they
think
also have the
election
same
commission.
problem
Look,
too.
election commission, for example, did not have a social media gig till about 6 months earlier. Right. So,
But interestingly, they ran a campaign in the
finally
last
they
election
did,
with
yeah.
all those young people, but that wasn't kind
No,
of
look at the kind of election campaigns which go on, and we spend so much of our time in television studios looking at, oh, he said this and she said this, whether it's Yogi Adityanath who'll talk about Ali Bajrang Bali or Nitin Gadkari who'll speak about something in Nagpur. The truth is, are people really speaking the kind of language?
That's exactly my point. Are they raising issues that would matter to people living in the cities?
Are they communicating
to the
them in a
youth?
language that the youth would be interested in? Let me share a quick example with you. On CNN News 18, this election season, we've done this college kids quiz show. And to my great amazement, whether those kids were aware or not aware of, let's say, very deep intricacies of Indian politics, the moment we did a whole section on political memes. And I was absolutely astounded at the success rate of those political memes, the knowledge, awareness on the basis of the political memes was 100%.
Yeah, because this is the
messaging
is there.
Yeah.
Now, who's talking to the young class through memes this election season? Is anyone doing that? Prime Minister Modi, who's a great master of articulation and reaching out to the targeted audiences. I mean, is an interview with Akshay Kumar the best way to reach out to first-time
No,
voters?
but I also think we should make a difference. In a Gaon, mein bhi to the youth are going out and voting. Why is it that they're not doing it in place like Mumbai?
That comes back again to the dependency issue.
So exactly.
Right?
So that's what I'm saying, that even if a government is offering a job, I'm going to give you employment, I don't know how much a youth of Mumbai would want it from the government. They'll say, I want to go out for a private sector. So mujhe private sector mein naukri ke liye, I don't need to vote for a government. I need to perhaps study more. I need to go on Google.
But then most of their issues are raised by the municipal authority.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Do they go out and vote for the municipal elections? In fact, there the participation is even lesser.
And sachi baat ye bhi hai. Many of them are saying, I find in big cities. I remember once I covered Delhi election. At Defence Colony and all those areas, the posh areas, they were not going out and voting. Why? I don't want to stand in a line.
But that again brings me back to the point that the touch point there is that much more immediate, right? And which is why people feel that their vote matters.
Exactly. The people who don't go to vote during a Lok Sabha election, they go back for a panchayat election.
Exactly.
You're actually touching on a very fundamental dilemma before our democracy, which is that is the political class increasing the inequality which exists between the rural class and the urban pockets? Look at a state like Odisha, for instance. Look at the kind of commitments that have been made by the Odisha Chief Minister. And this was pointed out to me by someone who works as a labourer here in the national capital, who earns 20,000 rupees a month. And he said, if I was a citizen of Orissa, I would have been better off. I said, why? He says, because the central government is giving me 6,000 rupees per annum. Congress party is promising me 6,000 rupees per month. The Odisha state government, in addition to the various amounts, has already committed to the day I come back to power, I'll give 10,000 rupees, to 25 lakh farmers. So he calculated, he said, if I was in Orissa, I would have earned 13 to 14,000 rupees per month just on the basis of government subsidies. Let's take corruption, let's take it, with a pinch of salt, and let's say even if the government is contributing 10 to 11,000 rupees for someone who's living in one of the poorest states, then what are you going to do about those individuals who want to move to the big cities if they are living in those big cities? The lowest end of the middle classes or the lowest end of the economic classes, are you really engaging with them? Are you providing them with solutions? Maybe you're not, and maybe that explains why people are not coming out.
Let's address the more practical aspect of basically getting to a voting booth and a polling booth. There's been a lot of conversation, where Digital India and so on and so forth, can we not look at ways of basically being able to cast our vote through an app or whatever? And I asked Ashok Lavasa, the election commissioner, this question. He said, look, we're not at that point where we feel comfortable to do so. There are questions about EVMs being rigged, EVMs malfunctioning. If you were to move from this system to a network,
but remember the same resistance also came to EVMs initially. Now many people were very reluctant.
So is that exactly? So is that really a solution, or is this again naive, elitist?
I think it is a big issue. See, the thing is that if we have not been able to kill the debate over EVMs, which are standalone machines, and
not networked,
and we presume that any political party can rig them so badly that they can win an election, then there is no way this country can ever have networked election. That's a reality.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we don't even have the US. The
No,
US is
you don't.
actually
No, exactly.
not even on an EVM.
Not
So
even
we were talking about practical solutions to try and enthuse and engage with the voters. But one of the issues comes down to accountability. You know, at the end of 5 years, no one talks about, this is my report card, this is what I've been able to achieve. They will give you a claim about what we promised to do over the next 5 years if you vote me back to power. But how much of that is also our responsibility and our job as the media to put the focus on what has been delivered, what has been achieved?
Do you remember, Shireen, that when Narendra Modi became Prime Minister in 2014, the first speech which he made when he was addressing the BJP Parliamentary Party, he said very, very clearly in 2014 that 5 years down the line, I will come to you with my report card.
Where is the report card?
And are we asking for a report card? Are we spending enough time figuring out what has been done? Look at the kind of discourse which is taking place in this country. You know, I mean, there's religion, etc. My point is that I don't think that people, in India at least, I don't think they just vote on the basis of performance. They may vote for various factors. I've done a lot of programs this election season as well, just to try and figure out whether people are voting on the basis of emotion.
Of course, and emotion is a big factor
so
in elections.
Venkat uses the term trust.
Yeah.
I may trust you, but will I vote for you? You know, I may like you, but will I vote for you? I think these are fundamentally different points.
Yeah, a politician once told me there's no thank you vote in India.
There's no thank you vote, exactly.
So you got to keep the hope alive कि this is gonna.
So which is why you're saying that the report card आता ही नहीं है.
हाँ, रिपोर्ट कार्ड आता ही
आपने जो कर दिया ना, it's like आए हो तो क्या लेके आए हो, जाते हो
तो क्या देके जाओगे?
Look at it. I mean, शीला दीक्षित का तो खुद ही थैंक यू हो गया.
She was here for 3 years, three terms.
Three terms, but
Three terms,
जब
but thank
तक
you
वो
हो गया. Thank you का भी
बनता
तो
रहा.
shelf life होता है. Thank you.
But we are not talking about the political side of it.
But I don't know, does the report card ever matter if I want to go out and vote? I mean, is that the reason?
Why
I don't
not?
think.
Why
I don't
not?
think people over here only work. A lot depends on the political parties. How many of them are able to drag their cadre out, entice voters to come and vote?
So
The example which you were giving, the example you were giving about the person who works in the house and why uske gaon mein, name and shame. Agar main nahi pahuncha vote karne, will my gaon shame me? And then the connect in the villages and smaller areas is immediate with your immediate neta.
So let me ask each one of you before we close.
Don't ask us to call this election.
I'm not asking anybody to call the election, but I'm saying that there is no conclusive evidence to suggest that the voter turnout has an impact as far as who is eventually going to make government. We overanalyze these things. But if you would only pick up on the comments that seem to be coming in from the Prime Minister, specifically Bhupen, and I'll start by asking you, even in Varanasi, even after he cast his own vote, saying that people might tell you that Modi is coming back, but that shouldn't deter you from going out there and exercising your mandate.
Right. That's right.
So, what is the andar ki khabar in terms of how they're looking at the turnout?
No, see, when we look at all these cities and when we say that the voting percentage is not increasing, there is a feeling that people in big cities, the middle classes, etc., would be supporters, let's say, of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now as this election moves towards rural parts of the country, in eastern UP, there is a feeling that if the BJP has to be, let's say, in the driver's seat this election season,
it has to be.
It needs to ensure that the voting percentages, they can't just remain stagnated where they were last time.
Have to be significantly higher.
It has to be significantly higher, which is, and it's very, very hot. I mean, this election.
But that's the other problem, right? I mean, it's not just this election. I mean, this is the everybody. Exactly, always in May.
I think button Dabao Desh Banao, I think there will be a greater service that we will end up doing to this country and to its people if we can create a system where you have elections in December, January.
Election commissioners, they say that in India, the best season.
This is the only window.
Because the best season is the season when the nation has festivals. Because best weather all across is October, November, September. But that's when the festival season is there.
Global warming, in terms of global warming, now weather conditions are changing.
But it
has to evolve. It has to evolve.
I firmly believe if people want to go out and vote, they'll go out and vote in. Rajasthan, maybe people go out and vote in 50, 52 degrees.
But why do you want them to be subjected to this problem? If you can create an environment where it can be a better festive occasion, why not?
No, but there's another on the political points. I've heard people in some constituencies, especially in Delhi, tell me that agar Aam Aadmi Party and Congress ka ho jata na, I would not have gone and voted because because Congress would not have had a candidate in my constituency. I don't want to vote for the BJP. I don't want to vote for the Aam Aadmi Party. This is a problem. This could also be a problem because we hear of these vote transfers among SP and BSP and RLD. That you're taking only the Bharatiya Janata Party factor into account. This might also result in.
When I said trust, what I meant was that in rural areas, they trust that their vote will change something.
That's what I'm saying. That their vote matters.
That is the trust.
That their vote matters.
The problem in urban areas is, it's maybe something drastic that I'm saying. Education confuses you, right? And you move up the social ladder, you are apathetic.
Why? Isn't it supposed to do the opposite? Isn't it supposed to do the opposite? It's supposed to tell you about the candidates, what they stand for, what they've been able to achieve, deliver, so on and so forth.
Sujit says, revolt of rising expectations. It's almost as if that in the middle classes, in the urban segments, there is a feeling.
They want more and more.
I want more and more and more. And maybe the political class is not able to match up to that constantly rising expectation. So it all then comes down to a point where if I emotionally feel attached to a politician or to a political party, I go and cast my vote, otherwise I don't. So that's where it ends.
Just to pick up on the point that Bhupen was making, and I'll ask each one of you for your comments before we close. Bibi, the assumption is, as Bhupen said, that if they need to be in the driver's seat, if the government needs to continue to be in the driver's seat, then they would hope for significantly higher turnout. And that seems to be the message that the Prime Minister is sending out as well.
I would hope that irrespective of the Prime Minister's message or who is going to gain or lose in this election, I think we should have much better voting percentages.
Sure.
But our discussion might suggest that we should be really worried about it. I don't think the initiatives have really worked, and it is a positive thing. What we are talking here about is that why 64, why not 75, why not 80?
Of course.
So I think.
One of the big silver linings that we haven't discussed, for instance, is the participation of women in the Indian election. They might not be the decline in the workforce is a cause for concern, but in the electoral process, it's been the absolute opposite. It's been moving higher.
So that's what I'm saying. So irrespective of which party is going to gain or not, I think we have to have better voting percentages, and I think the urban areas have to weigh in much better. Our problem of lower voting is definitely because of urban centers. The rural centers have better reasons not to vote, which is where yet they will not go and vote. They'll try their best to go and vote, whereas we give up at the slightest excuse. We need the slightest excuse not to vote. They will go unless there is something really, really drastic. They will go and vote, put that vote, because they trust that this will make a change. And they're unconfused. They're innocent.
Okay, I don't know about innocent and unconfused.
Because Venkat is suggesting that if you're educated, as he says confused, then that means that you know more, and knowledge leads you to a situation of chaos.
Knowledge leads you to inertia. That's the point that he's making.
It's a separate debate.
So Kishore, you haven't voted yet because Delhi is yet to vote. So
I would go out and vote.
Yes, and Bhupen has voted, but he doesn't have any mark to prove it.
Well, the unfortunate part, and I saw that people in Mumbai also were complaining about this, and I'd urge all of you, because there's a lot of money which is spent in that ink which is put. So if you are going to cast your vote, which I'm sure you will, do check if nail polish remover.
I'm due for 12th too.
We are due for the 12th as well. So this is our effort to try and mobilize people to go out there and exercise their mandate. If you haven't done so, if you were not part of the first 4 phases of the election, then we urge you to go out there and do so when your turn comes. This is a wrap on this edition of Network 18's Button Dabao Desh Banao initiative, and go out there, show us that you've been able to do it. Send us your selfies. We'd be happy to put them out on Network 18. From all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching.